How about to go? How about to go there? How about to go there? How about to go where? How about to go? How about to go here? How about now? How about to go?
Does paying property tax give ownership? Welcome back. I'm Ted Thomas. I've been involved in tax lien certificates and tax defaulted property for over 30 years. There's lots of promotion, there's lots of hype about owning real estate simply by paying someone else's property tax. Well, most of that's hype, but let me give you the real skinny so that you know what's really going on. I'll start by reviewing what you may have learned from other loved ones, grandparents, friends, and whatever. There is a perception out there that you're just going to be able to get property, but this is a process. I'll go through the process with you. I've learned that if it sounds too good, it really is too good. So that's certainly the case with tax defaulted properties. Well, tax lien certificates really pay some high interest rates, 16, 18, 24, all the way up to 36%. Now, those rates are mandated by the government. That's true. It's been around for 200 years. I'm going to give you some of the other nitty-gritties. I think you'll find it's amazing and pretty clever how attorneys and marketers and information gurus kind of manage to twist the words around so they sound like more than there is. This is a real business. It's been around for well over 200 years. So people that put their keyword sentences together, or they create mail pieces or headlines or whatever, they try to make this into a fantasy, and it's not. This is just a down-to-earth business. Now, I'm not an attorney, I'm not a real estate broker, and I'm not a financial advisor. I'm an author, I'm a publisher, I've been a guide, and I've helped people for over 30 years with tax lien certificates and tax defaulted property. I basically teach them how to make money and make $25,000, even $50,000 on one deal, but they have to follow a very specific process. Tax defaulted auctions are highly regulated. Okay, that means they're going to be regulated by the treasurer of the county, and they're going to follow exact rules. And once you learn the rules, you can do this business. 3,000 plus counties in the United States, they all sell tax defaulted property. About half of them, about 1,500 of those counties, will sell tax lien certificates. I'll be right back. Today's episode is a discussion of paying property tax and owning the property. Is that possible? So I'll try to cover that and make it simple as possible. The answer is yes, but the answer is also no. This is not a trick answer, and let me explain all that. Real estate tax liens are available in about 1,500 of the counties, okay? If you purchase a tax lien certificate, you're paying someone else's taxes. All right, now when you do so, the county's going to reward you with a generous interest payment on that certificate. Now, I frequently say it's going to be an outrageously high interest rate. So if you're the successful bidder, you're going to get a certificate that will have a high rate of interest on it. I didn't say you were going to get the property. I said you were going to get a certificate, okay? So real estate tax certificates are issued every year. Investors sometimes buy one or two, some buy multiple certificates. It's going to be up to you. Every time you buy a certificate, you're paying someone else's taxes. So keep in mind, you're the purchaser of a certificate that can be redeemed. What does that mean? It means a person that has the property that was in default can come in and pay the certificate. Pay the certificate means redeem the certificate. All certificates will have a number of days that they can be redeemed. Sometimes it's 2 years, sometimes it's 3 years. But the owner is always allowed to come forward and pay off the certificate. All right, now the defaulted property owner is allowed to pay and get their property back. So you have no rights to the property. If you buy a tax lien certificate, you have no right to the property. You can't go on the property. You can't bother the owner. You can't do anything. All you own is a piece of paper that's going to present you with nice interest payments. All right, now if the property owner does come forward, they'll have to pay you 100% of what you paid. I said 100% return to capital and a high interest rate, okay? All right, tax certificates are an instrument where you earn interest and you earn high interest. They don't necessarily mean you're going to get the property. But could you get the property? Well, today's episode is all about, does paying the property tax give you ownership? Yes, if the property owner doesn't come forward. I'm going to tell you, in checking with counties, 95, maybe even 98% of all the people that have a tax certificate issued will come forward and redeem their tax certificate, pay you the money you invested, and high interest. All right, now think about what I'm saying here. Every one of the states and every one of the counties are similar, but they all have their own rules. That simply means that you need to know the rules before you go to any tax lien certificate auction or any tax defaulted property auction. So today I'm answering the question, does paying property taxes give ownership? Yes, if the property owner doesn't redeem. I hope you're beginning to realize this is somewhat of a learning process. All right, a little confusing for a lot of people when they start. All right, so the purchase of a tax lien certificate can be a lengthy process. Got to be patient. The tax certificate will have a time limit on it. Now, the shortest certificate on a redeemable deed is in Texas or Georgia. Those are short. But we're talking about tax lien certificates. Tax lien certificates usually can go 2 or 3 years. That'll depend upon the county and the state. Every one of those counties and states can be different. You have to read the rules before you go. So my whole point here is you want to be patient, because if the property owner fails to come in and redeem, you will get the property. So the question today was, does paying property tax give you ownership? Yes, if you wait out that whole time, could they redeem? All right, all property owners can come forward and redeem if they want to. If they don't come forward, then you'll have a chance to foreclose and you'll end up owning the property. All right, you have no rights to go on that property. Keep that in mind. You can't force the foreclosure. You can't do anything. When you buy the certificate, you're a passive investor. What did I say? I said you're a passive investor. All right, now my advice to you is just be patient. Buy all the tax certificates you want. You can earn high interest, sometimes 16, 18, 24, all the way up to 36% interest on a tax lien certificate. So just be patient, but you need to be patient for 2 or maybe 3 years. These are an alternative investment that earns real generous amounts of money. I've seen as many as 100,000 tax lien certificates in a place like Cook County, that's in Chicago. All right. In Miami, Florida, I've seen 65,000 certificates. You're getting the idea. There's a lot of certificates available, and people buy them because they want the interest on the certificate. 95, maybe even 97 or 8% of those certificates are going to pay you. So if you get paid, you don't get the property. But if the property owner does not redeem, does not come in and pay, you will get the property. This is a little known but highly profitable business. There's only a small percentage of the certificates that you won't get redeemed. In other words, your chances of getting a property at a tax defaulted tax lien certificate auction are very low. Now, if the investor does not be patient, they're going to get frustrated. So don't get frustrated. No, it's going to take 2 or 3 years for that redemption period to go by. But once it's by, they're going to have to pay you. And if they don't pay you all of the money that they owe you, plus all the high interest, then you'll be able to foreclose on the property. And when you do foreclose on the property, the tax collector and the treasurer will wipe out the mortgage and they'll wipe out the deed of trust. All right, so I'm about to finish this up. And before I finish, I want to say this. All right, right below me, you'll be able to go and you'll be able to get a list of tax auction properties. But I want to mention to you, if you're going to end up with a tax lien certificate, you're going to end up with a property. So I'm going to suggest that you always look at the property. Why do I suggest you do that? Because if there's a hurricane or there's a flood or it's next to a chicken farm, you might not want to buy that tax lien certificate. All right. The majority of tax lien certificate buyers do not look at the property. Okay. If the property is no good and it's got problems, the people are not going to redeem it. And if they don't redeem it, you're going to end up with a property that's not so hot. So I'm always suggesting look at every property. I don't know what could be wrong with it, but you'll know quickly if you go and take a look at it. Secondly, if you're going to end up with that property, it would be a good idea to have looked at the neighborhood and know what you're going to be able to sell that property for. So knowing whether you got a good property and knowing your exit strategy, I believe is always important. Now, before I leave, I want you to take a quick look. You see those little white circles? That's how many auctions are taking place within that state in the next 90 days. This calendar updates every single day. I'm here today to show you how to make money. To do that, I'm going to show you briefly that there are thousands of tax defaulted real estate properties across the 3,000 plus counties in the United States. This is quite interesting. You're looking at the Ted Thomas Magic Interactive Map and Auction Calendar. It changes every day. Now, I created the calendar and the map so I would know how many auctions are taking place every day in the United States. Now I can show the little guy how to make money. Most importantly, I created this system so I could have an auction list for each auction 24/7. The small population counties will have hundreds of tax defaulted properties. Some will only have dozens, maybe hundreds. Okay, but the large population counties, they're going to have hundreds, maybe even thousands of tax defaulted properties which you could buy. All right, I'm finished with this video. I'll see you on the next video. Don't forget, request your free auction list right below me.